You've probably heard that growing fruit trees requires a big backyard, tons of space, and years of waiting. But what if I told you that some of the most delicious, productive fruit trees on the planet will happily grow in nothing more than a container on your patio or balcony? As someone who's been container gardening for decades, I can promise you it's not only possible, it's incredibly rewarding. Today, we're walking through 20 fruit trees that thrive in small pots, and you're going to be amazed at what's actually within reach. Stick around because number 6 will transform any small space into a tropical oasis. And that bonus tip at the end is a decades-old secret that can triple your fruit production in containers. The first fruit tree we have to mention is the Meyer lemon. This is the queen of patio citrus, and for good reason. Meyer lemons are naturally sweeter and less acidic than regular supermarket lemons, with a flavor that's almost floral and incredibly fragrant. They thrive in full sun, ideally 6 to 8 hours a day, and they prefer well-draining potting soil with a slightly acidic pH. The improved Meyer lemon is the variety you'll find most often, and it's been specifically bred to be more disease-resistant and compact. When planting, choose a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons with good drainage holes at the bottom. You can start with a smaller pot and move up as the tree grows. Meyer lemons are perfectly suited to container life and will even fruit indoors if you have a sunny window or grow light. Expect to start harvesting lemons within the first year or two, and the best part is they can produce fruit nearly year-round in the right conditions. One insider trick worth knowing is to give your Meyer lemon a quarter turn every week so all sides get equal light exposure. This keeps growth even and prevents the tree from leaning toward the sun, which results in a much more balanced and productive plant. The next fruit tree worth growing in a pot is the Calamondin orange. This little gem is compact, ornamental, and practically made for containers. The fruits are small, about the size of a cherry tomato, and they have a tart, tangy flavor that's fantastic in marinades, cocktails, or homemade marmalade. Some people even eat them whole, peel and all, for a burst of citrus intensity. Calamondin thrives in bright light, at least 6 hours of direct sun daily, and it handles indoor growing better than most citrus trees. It prefers well-draining soil and consistent moisture, but don't let it sit in water or the roots will suffer. The standard Calamondin variety is what you'll typically find, and it's reliably productive. When planting, use a pot that's at least 12 to 15 gallons, with drainage holes to prevent root rot. These trees stay naturally small, often maxing out around 3 to 4 feet, which makes them ideal for patios, balconies, or even a sunny kitchen counter. You'll start seeing fruit within a year, and the tree often blooms and fruits at the same time, giving you fragrant white flowers and colorful oranges all at once. Harvest the fruits when they turn deep orange and feel slightly soft to the touch. A gardener's secret for this plant is to mist the leaves regularly, especially if you're growing it indoors. The humidity boost keeps the foliage healthy and discourages spider mites, which can be a problem in dry indoor air. Now, if you're finding this video helpful so far, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us reach more gardeners like yourself, who would also find it so helpful to avoid these mistakes. All right, let's keep going. And the third fruit tree worth growing in a pot is the kaffir lime. This tree is grown as much for its aromatic leaves as its small bumpy fruits. The leaves are a staple in Thai and Southeast Asian cooking, and they have an intense, citrusy fragrance that's completely unique. The fruits themselves are very sour and not typically eaten fresh, but the zest is incredible in curries, soups, and marinades. Kaffir lime loves full sun and warmth, thriving in temperatures above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It does well in well-draining potting mix with regular watering, but allow the top inch of soil to dry out between waterings. The standard kaffir lime variety is what you'll find at most nurseries, and it's quite hardy once established. Plant it in a container that's at least 15 gallons with excellent drainage to prevent waterlogged roots. This tree is very happy in a pot and will stay manageable, usually around 4 to 6 feet tall. You can harvest the leaves year-round once the tree is established, and the fruits will appear in late fall or winter. Pick the leaves as you need them, and they can be used fresh or frozen for later. One insider trick worth knowing is to prune the tree lightly after harvesting, to encourage bushier growth and more leaf production. The more you prune, the more leaves you'll have to cook with, and the tree stays compact and easy to manage. The next fruit tree we have to mention is the dwarf mandarin, and varieties like clementine or satsuma are absolute standouts. These mandarins are incredibly sweet, practically seedless, and they fill the air with the most gorgeous citrus scent when they're in bloom. The flavor is pure sunshine, with that perfect balance of sweetness and just a hint of tang that makes them irresistible to eat fresh. Dwarf mandarins need full sun, at least 6 to 8 hours a day, and they prefer well-draining soil that stays consistently moist but never soggy. The Owari Satsuma is one of the best varieties for containers because it's cold-hardy and incredibly productive. Clementine is another fantastic choice if you want that classic seedless mandarin flavor. When planting, use a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons with plenty of drainage holes. These trees stay naturally compact, usually reaching about 4 to 6 feet in a pot, which makes them perfect for patios or small garden spaces. You'll typically see your first harvest within 2 to 3 years, and the fruits ripen in late fall through winter, depending on your climate. Harvest them when the skin turns deep orange and the fruit feels heavy for its size. A gardener's secret for this plant is to feed it with a citrus-specific fertilizer every 6 to 8 weeks during the growing season. This keeps the foliage dark green and the fruit production steady, and it prevents the nutrient deficiencies that can show up as yellowing leaves in container-grown citrus. And the fifth fruit tree worth growing in a pot is the dwarf fig, with varieties like Little Miss Figgy or Petite Negra leading the pack. These little trees are absolute marvels because they'll actually produce fruits even when they're under 2 feet tall. The figs themselves are rich, sweet, and honey-like, with that classic jammy texture that makes fresh figs so addictive. They're perfect eaten right off the tree, dried or baked into desserts. Dwarf figs thrive in full sun, needing at least 6 hours of direct light daily, and they prefer well-draining soil that's allowed to dry out slightly between waterings. Little Miss Figgy is a wonderful compact variety that produces small to medium-sized figs with excellent flavor. Petite Negra is another stellar choice, known for its dark purple skin and incredibly sweet flesh. When planting, choose a container that's at least 10 to 15 gallons, and make sure it has drainage holes to prevent root rot. These trees stay beautifully compact in containers, often maxing out around 3 to 4 feet, which makes them ideal for small spaces or even large indoor pots near a sunny window. You can expect to harvest figs in late summer to early fall, and many varieties will give you 2 crops a year if conditions are right. Pick the figs when they're soft to the touch and starting to droop slightly on the branch. One insider trick worth knowing is to limit watering slightly as the fruits start to ripen. This concentrates the sugars and makes the figs even sweeter and more flavorful, which is a trick commercial growers use all the time. The next fruit tree we have to mention is the pomegranate, and dwarf varieties like Nana or Red Silk are spectacular choices for containers. These trees are compact, drought-tolerant once established, and they produce the most stunning orange-red flowers that look like crepe paper in spring. The fruits themselves are packed with those jewel-like arils that burst with sweet tart juice, and they're loaded with antioxidants. Pomegranates love full sun, thriving with at least 6 hours of direct light daily, and they actually prefer drier conditions compared to most fruit trees. They do well in well-draining soil and are quite forgiving if you forget to water occasionally. Nana is a true dwarf variety that stays under 3 feet and produces small but flavorful fruits. Red Silk is slightly larger but still very manageable in a pot, with beautiful foliage and excellent fruit production. When planting, use a container that's at least 10 to 15 gallons with good drainage. These trees stay naturally compact and are perfect for patios, balconies, or even sunny entryways. You'll start seeing fruits within 2 to 3 years, and they ripen in late summer to fall, depending on your climate. Harvest them when the skin takes on a deep red color, and the fruit feels heavy and makes a metallic sound when you tap it. A gardener's secret for this plant is to withhold water for a few weeks before harvest. This stresses the tree just slightly and encourages the arils to develop more concentrated flavor and deeper color, resulting in the most delicious pomegranates you've ever tasted. And the next fruit tree worth growing in a pot is the dwarf peach, and Bonanza is the variety that really shines. This little powerhouse produces full-sized, juicy peaches on a tree that stays waist-high, which sounds almost too good to be true until you taste one. The peaches are sweet, fragrant, and have that classic fuzzy skin and golden flesh that makes summer worth waiting for. They're perfect for eating fresh, baking into pies, or preserving as jam. Dwarf peaches need full sun, at least 6 to 8 hours daily, and they prefer well-draining soil that's kept consistently moist during the growing season. Bonanza is a genetic dwarf variety, meaning it stays small naturally without any special pruning, and it's self-pollinating, so you only need 1 tree to get fruit. When planting, choose a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons with excellent drainage holes. These trees stay compact, usually around 4 to 5 feet tall, making them ideal for patios or small garden spaces. You'll typically see your first harvest within 2 to 3 years, and the peaches ripen in mid to late summer. Pick them when they give slightly to gentle pressure and the background color changes from green to yellow or cream. One insider trick worth knowing is to thin the fruit when they're about marble-sized, leaving 4 to 6 inches between each peach. This might feel wasteful at first, but it allows the remaining fruits to size up properly and develop much better flavor, giving you fewer but far superior peaches. The 8th fruit tree we have to mention is the dwarf nectarine, and Nectarines is a standout variety for container growing. This tree has glossy, attractive leaves that look beautiful even when it's not fruiting, and it produces smooth-skinned nectarines in summer that are incredibly sweet and juicy. The flavor is rich and aromatic, with that perfect balance of sweetness and acidity that makes nectarines so refreshing. They're wonderful eaten fresh, sliced into salads, or grilled for desserts. Dwarf nectarines thrive in full sun, needing at least 6 to 8 hours of direct light daily, and they prefer well-draining soil with consistent moisture during the growing season. Nectarines is a naturally compact variety that's self-pollinating, so you don't need a second tree to get fruit. It's also bred specifically for container life, which makes it incredibly reliable. When planting, use a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons with drainage holes to prevent waterlogged roots. These trees stay manageable, usually around 4 to 5 feet tall, which makes them perfect for patios, decks, or small garden corners. You'll start harvesting nectarines within 2 to 3 years, and they ripen in mid to late summer. Pick them when the background color turns from green to cream, and the fruit gives slightly when pressed gently. A gardener's secret for this plant is to prune in late winter before new growth starts, removing any crowded or crossing branches. This opens up the canopy for better air circulation and sunlight penetration, which reduces disease pressure and results in larger, sweeter nectarines. The next fruit tree worth growing in a pot is the dwarf apple, with varieties like urban apple or golden sentinel that are absolutely perfect for small spaces. These trees have an upright, columnar shape that's ideal for patios, and they produce crisp, flavorful apples that rival anything you'd find at the grocery store. The taste varies by variety, but you can expect everything from sweet and honey-like to tart and tangy, depending on what you choose. They're perfect for fresh eating, baking, or making homemade applesauce. Dwarf apples need full sun, at least 6 hours daily, and they prefer well-draining soil that's kept consistently moist but not waterlogged. Urban apple is a fantastic self-fertile variety that produces medium-sized apples with excellent flavor. Golden Sentinel is another great choice, growing in a narrow column shape that takes up minimal space while still producing plenty of fruit. When planting, use a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons with good drainage holes. These trees stay compact, usually around 5 to 6 feet tall in a pot, making them ideal for balconies or small patios. You'll typically see your first apples within 2 to 3 years, and they ripen in late summer to fall, depending on the variety. Harvest them when the background color changes and the fruit twists off easily with a gentle upward lift. One insider trick worth knowing is to chill the tree for at least 300 to 400 hours, below 45 degrees Fahrenheit in winter. This dormancy period is essential for good fruit set, so if you're in a warm climate, choose low-chill varieties specifically. The 10th fruit tree we have to mention is the dwarf pear, and varieties like Concord or patio pear are elegant, easy to grow, and incredibly rewarding. These trees produce sweet European-style pears with that buttery, melting texture that makes them so special. The flavor is aromatic and honey-sweet, perfect for eating fresh, poaching in wine, or slicing into salads. They're also beautiful ornamental trees with lovely spring blossoms. Dwarf pears thrive in full sun, needing at least 6 hours of direct light daily, and they prefer well-draining soil that's kept consistently moist during the growing season. Concord is a self-fertile variety with excellent disease resistance and wonderful flavor. Patio pear is another compact option that's been bred specifically for container growing. When planting, choose a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons with drainage holes to prevent root issues. These trees stay manageable in pots, usually around 5 to 6 feet tall, which makes them perfect for patios or small garden spaces. You'll start harvesting pears within 2 to 3 years, and they ripen in late summer to early fall. The trick with pears is to pick them when they're still firm and let them ripen indoors at room temperature for the best flavor and texture. A gardener's secret for this plant is to thin the fruit clusters to 1 or 2 pears per spur when they're marble-sized. This prevents branches from breaking under the weight and ensures each pear grows large, juicy, and perfectly formed. And the 11th fruit tree worth growing in a pot is the dwarf cherry, and compact Stella is a variety that truly delivers. This tree is self-fertile, produces beautiful spring blossoms that look like something out of a painting, and gives you real, full-flavored cherries that are sweet and juicy. The taste is classic sweet cherry, with that deep, rich flavor and firm texture that makes them perfect for snacking, baking, or preserving. Dwarf cherries need full sun, at least 6 to 8 hours daily, and they prefer well-draining soil that's kept consistently moist but never waterlogged. Compact Stella is a fantastic choice because it doesn't require a second tree for pollination, and it stays naturally compact without excessive pruning. When planting, use a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons with excellent drainage holes. These trees stay manageable, usually around 5 to 6 feet tall in a pot, making them ideal for patios, decks, or small garden corners. You'll typically see your first cherries within 2 to 3 years, and they ripen in early to midsummer depending on your climate. Harvest them when the fruit turns deep red or dark purple and tastes sweet. Birds absolutely love cherries, so netting is often necessary as the fruit ripens. One insider trick worth knowing is to water deeply and consistently once the fruit starts to swell. Irregular watering can cause the cherries to split, especially if heavy rain follows a dry spell. So keeping the soil evenly moist gives you picture-perfect fruit every time. The 12th fruit tree we have to mention is the dwarf plum, with varieties like Methley or Victoria Dwarf that are sweet, juicy, and incredibly productive without taking over your space. These plums have a rich, complex flavor that's both sweet and slightly tart, with smooth skin and tender flesh that's perfect for eating fresh, making jam, or baking into cobblers. The taste is intensely fruity and satisfying. Dwarf plums thrive in full sun, needing at least 6 hours of direct light daily, and they prefer well-draining soil that's kept consistently moist during the growing season. Methley is a self-fertile variety with red-purple skin and sweet, juicy flesh that ripens early in the season. Victoria Dwarf is another excellent choice, producing large golden plums with a classic European flavor. When planting, choose a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons, with good drainage holes to prevent root problems. These trees stay compact in pots, usually around 4 to 6 feet tall, making them ideal for patios or small garden spaces. You'll start harvesting plums within 2 to 3 years, and they ripen in mid to late summer, depending on the variety. Pick them when they're slightly soft to the touch and the color deepens fully. A gardener's secret for this plant is to prune after harvest rather than in winter, which helps reduce the risk of silver leaf disease that can affect plums. Removing any dead or crossing branches keeps the tree healthy and productive year after year. And the next fruit tree worth growing in a pot is the dwarf banana, and dwarf Cavendish is the variety that brings a true tropical vibe to any space. This plant adds instant drama with its large paddle-shaped leaves, and it can actually produce bananas indoors if you have enough light and warmth. The bananas themselves are sweet, creamy and smaller than supermarket varieties, but the flavor is incredible, and they're perfect for smoothies, baking, or eating fresh. Dwarf bananas love warmth and bright light, needing at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sun daily, and they prefer rich, well-draining soil that's kept consistently moist. They're heavy feeders, so regular fertilizing is important. Dwarf Cavendish is the most popular variety for containers, staying around 5 to 6 feet tall and producing edible fruit reliably. When planting, use a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons with excellent drainage. These plants grow quickly and need plenty of room for their root system. You'll start seeing fruit within 18 months to 2 years, and the bananas ripen in large clusters called hands. Harvest the entire bunch when the bananas are plump and still green, then let them ripen indoors at room temperature. One insider trick worth knowing is to remove all but one sucker from the base of the plant each year. Bananas produce new shoots constantly, but allowing just one to grow keeps the plant manageable and focuses all the energy into producing the best possible fruit on the main stalk. The 14th fruit tree we have to mention is the loquat, and Gold Nugget is a variety that's evergreen, ornamental, and bursting with tangy orange fruit that tastes like a cross between apricot and mango. The flavor is unique and tropical with a sweet tart, balance that's incredibly refreshing. The fruits are delicious eaten fresh, made into jams, or used in baked goods. Loquats thrive in full sun to partial shade, needing at least 4 to 6 hours of direct light daily, and they prefer well-draining soil that's kept moderately moist. They're quite drought-tolerant once established. Gold Nugget is a compact variety that's perfect for containers, with beautiful large evergreen leaves that add year-round interest to your patio. When planting, choose a container that's at least 15-20 gallons with good drainage holes. These trees stay manageable in pots, usually around 6 to 8 feet tall, making them ideal for patios or as a focal point in small gardens. You'll start harvesting loquats within 2 to 3 years, and the fruits ripen in late winter to early spring, which is a wonderful time for fresh fruit. Pick them when they turn deep orange and feel slightly soft to the touch. A gardener's secret for this plant is to thin the fruit clusters when they're small, leaving only 3 to 5 fruits per cluster. This might seem counterintuitive, but it results in much larger, sweeter loquats and prevents the branches from becoming overburdened with small, less flavorful fruit. And the next fruit tree worth growing in a pot is the feijoa, also known as pineapple guava, and it's deliciously fragrant with edible flowers and tropical-tasting fruit that's unlike anything else. The flavor is complex and aromatic, tasting like a blend of pineapple, guava, and mint, with a slightly gritty texture similar to a pear. The fruits are fantastic, eaten fresh, scooped out with a spoon, or used in smoothies and desserts. Feijoas thrive in full sun, needing at least 6 hours of direct light daily, and they prefer well-draining soil that's kept moderately moist. They're quite drought-tolerant once established and handle a range of climates. Coolidge and Nazamets are self-fertile varieties that work wonderfully in containers, though having 2 plants can increase your harvest. When planting, use a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons with excellent drainage holes. These plants stay compact in pots, usually around 4 to 6 feet tall, and they have beautiful silvery green foliage that looks ornamental year-round. You'll start harvesting feijoas within 2 to 3 years, and the fruits ripen in late fall to early winter. They're ready when they drop naturally from the tree or when they yield slightly to gentle pressure. One insider trick worth knowing is to eat the flower petals in spring. They're sweet, crispy, and taste like a combination of marshmallow and tropical fruit, and harvesting a few won't affect your fruit production. It's one of those garden secrets that makes feijoas extra special. The 16th fruit tree we have to mention is the mulberry, and dwarf everbearing is a variety that delivers constant harvests of sweet berries, even in small pots. These berries taste like a blend of blackberry and raspberry with a honey-sweet flavor and soft, juicy texture that's absolutely addictive. They're wonderful eaten fresh, added to yogurt, baked into pies, or made into jam. Mulberries thrive in full sun, needing at least 6 hours of direct light daily, and they prefer well-draining soil that's kept consistently moist during the growing season. They're quite adaptable and forgiving once established. Dwarf everbearing is the perfect variety for containers because it stays compact and produces fruit continuously throughout the summer rather than all at once. When planting, choose a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons with good drainage holes. These trees stay manageable, usually around 4 to 6 feet tall in a pot, making them ideal for patios or small garden spaces. You'll start harvesting mulberries within 1 to 2 years, and the berries ripen in waves from late spring through summer. Pick them when they're deep purple or black and fall off easily at the slightest touch. A gardener's secret for this plant is to place a white sheet or tarp under the tree during harvest season. Ripe mulberries drop naturally when they're at peak sweetness, and catching them on a clean surface makes harvesting effortless and prevents staining on your patio or deck. The 17th next fruit tree worth growing in a pot is the goji berry, and Phoenix tears is a hardy shrub with bright red, antioxidant-rich fruit that's been prized for centuries in traditional medicine. The berries have a slightly sweet, mildly tart flavor with earthy undertones, and they're packed with vitamins and nutrients. They're delicious eaten fresh, dried like raisins, or added to smoothies and teas. Goji berries thrive in full sun, needing at least 6 to 8 hours of direct light daily, and they prefer well-draining soil that's allowed to dry out slightly between waterings. They're remarkably drought-tolerant and handle cold winters beautifully. Phoenix tears is a compact variety that's perfect for containers, producing abundant fruit without sprawling out of control. When planting, use a container that's at least 10 to 15 gallons with excellent drainage holes. These plants stay manageable, usually around 3 to 5 feet tall in a pot, and they have attractive silvery green foliage. You'll start harvesting goji berries within 1 to 2 years, and the fruits ripen in mid to late summer. Pick them when they're bright red and slightly soft, or wait until they dry on the plant for that classic dried goji texture. One insider trick worth knowing is to provide a small trellis or stake for support. Even though they're technically a shrub, this keeps the branches upright and makes harvesting much easier. Plus, it improves air circulation around the plant, which helps prevent any fungal issues. The 18th fruit tree we have to mention is the passion fruit vine, and Nellie Kelly is perfect for trellised pots, with exotic flavor and absolutely stunning flowers that look like something from another planet. The fruits have a tropical, tangy, sweet flavor that's intensely aromatic, with juicy seeds surrounded by fragrant pulp. They're incredible eaten fresh, added to desserts, or made into juice and cocktails. Passion fruit thrives in full sun, needing at least 6 to 8 hours of direct light daily, and it prefers well-draining soil that's kept consistently moist during the growing season. It's a vigorous vine, so providing support is essential. Nellie Kelly is a self-fertile variety that's perfect for containers, producing abundant fruit without needing a second plant for pollination. When planting, choose a container that's at least 15 to 20 gallons with excellent drainage holes, and set up a trellis, arbor, or fence for the vine to climb. The plant can reach 8 to 10 feet in length, but it's easily pruned to keep it compact. You'll start harvesting passion fruit within 1 to 2 years, and the fruits ripen in summer to fall. They're ready when the skin turns deep purple and wrinkles slightly, and they'll drop from the vine when fully ripe. A gardener's secret for this plant is to hand-pollinate the flowers with a small paintbrush if you're growing it indoors or in an area without many bees. Gently transfer pollen from one flower to another, and you'll dramatically increase your fruit set and get a much bigger harvest. And the next fruit tree worth growing in a pot is the dwarf avocado. And Wurtz, or little cado, is a compact, attractive variety that actually produces creamy, delicious fruit in containers. The avocados have that rich, buttery texture and mild, nutty flavor that makes them perfect for guacamole, salads, or spreading on toast. The taste is incredibly satisfying and fresh. Dwarf avocados thrive in full sun, needing at least 6 to 8 hours of direct light daily, and they prefer well-draining soil that's allowed to dry out slightly between waterings. Overwatering is one of the biggest mistakes with avocados, so err on the side of caution. Wurtz is a naturally dwarf variety that stays compact and is self-fertile, meaning you only need one tree to get fruit. When planting, use a container that's at least 20 to 25 gallons with excellent drainage holes. Avocados are sensitive to waterlogged roots, so good drainage is absolutely critical. These trees stay manageable in pots, usually around 6 to 8 feet tall, making them ideal for patios or small garden spaces. You'll start harvesting avocados within 3 to 4 years, and the fruits ripen in summer to fall, depending on your climate. Leave them on the tree until you're ready to eat them, then pick and let them soften indoors for a few days. One insider trick worth knowing is to add a layer of mulch on top of the soil to help regulate moisture and keep the roots cool. Avocado roots are shallow and sensitive to temperature swings, so mulching makes a huge difference in overall tree health and fruit production. Up next on the list is the kumquat, with varieties like Nagami or Mewa that are cold-tolerant citrus and sweet enough to eat peel and all. The flavor is unique because the peel is sweet while the flesh is tart. So when you bite into a whole kumquat, you get this amazing sweet-tart combination that's incredibly refreshing. They're perfect for eating fresh, candying, or adding to salads and cocktails. Kumquats thrive in full sun, needing at least 6 to 8 hours of direct light daily. And they prefer well-draining soil that's kept consistently moist but not waterlogged. They're more cold-hardy than most citrus, tolerating temperatures down to the low 20s Fahrenheit. Nagami is the most common variety, producing oval-shaped fruits with excellent flavor. Mewa is rounder and even sweeter, making it a favorite for eating fresh. When planting, choose a container that's at least 10 to 15 gallons with good drainage holes. These trees stay compact, usually around 4 to 6 feet tall in a pot, making them ideal for patios, balconies, or even as a decorative indoor plant near a sunny window. You'll start harvesting kumquats within 2 to 3 years, and the fruits ripen in winter, which is a wonderful time for fresh citrus. Pick them when they're deep orange and slightly soft to the touch. A gardener's secret for this plant is to roll the fruit gently between your fingers before eating it. This releases the essential oils in the peel and blends the sweet and tart flavors together, giving you the most delicious kumquat experience possible. And now for the bonus tip, gardeners swear by. If you want to maximize fruit production on any container-grown tree, here's the secret. Root prune every 2 to 3 years. It sounds intimidating, but it's simpler than you think and makes an enormous difference. In late winter, carefully tip the tree out of its pot, then use a sharp knife or pruning saw to trim about 2 inches off the root ball on all sides and the bottom. This removes old circling roots and stimulates fresh, vigorous root growth. Replant the tree in the same pot with fresh potting soil, and you'll be amazed at how it responds. The tree essentially gets a reset, producing stronger growth and significantly more fruit because the roots can access nutrients more efficiently. Commercial growers do this routinely, and it's one of the biggest reasons their potted trees stay productive for decades. It might feel drastic the first time, but your tree will thank you with the best harvest you've ever seen. Thanks for sticking with me through the entire video. If you found this helpful, give it a like, subscribe for more gardening tips, and check out our other videos on growing a better garden.